Hi everyone, so today we're going to have a look at two line attack plays, the Rooster and the Chicken. Very similar plays, and a lot of people have probably heard the Rooster. The Chicken, that's also been called an out ball, but we'll go on to that a bit later. So we'll start with the Rooster. So let's have a look at the first example. But to start off, a Rooster being it's a dump, middle dumps for the link on the defending middle. And just take note of this player here. So he's going to come running onto the ball, and his line is at the offside player. So the dummy half here will pop past to him and come around. Not around this player, that's not that far, he just comes in between those. And obviously he has to come around like that, because if he stays where he is and just pops the pass, this defender comes up and smashes the ball carrier. So he has to make sure that he gets around. So if this defender does come up, then he has the numbers out here. There's two defenders left, and it'll be him plus his extra support. So the ball carrier now, the person who is what we call ball playing, is the number 6, and he's running onto the ball, and it's his job to solely focus on that person that's made the touch, and you want to beat him. If you can beat him short side, if you see that he's pulling back direct, or in this case his body movement's a little bit to the open side, yeah, definitely gun it to the short side, which is what he does. Just guns it to the short side. These guys go to policy. Now, short side policy is you just man up on your player, because in theory you don't want to be beaten on that side as a defender. So it was a good little angle change. The defender thought that they were playing open side, so he tried to compete there, but he was beaten on the short side. So that's always the first option when you're running a Rooster. If you can, beat him short side, because a 3-on-2 is a lot easier than a 4-on-3. So here's another example. Passes to the link, and they do call that a try. So we've got the same setup again. Here's the middle defender, and they are fading. And when we say fading, it means you're dragging that middle away from the center of the field and really opening up that open side, so you can just have a little bit more space to play with, and these defenders have a lot more ground to cover. So he fades, he drags that defender off center, and it also puts him at an angle where he must pull corner, which is fine for the defender, but he doesn't really have a choice if everyone else thinks there's a chance he might compete. So there's the little dummy half pop pass. His idea is to attack this player here, but because it was a really nice dump, it's already pulled him away to the corner. So this defender here has done a nice job. He's tucked in close to make sure that there's no dive between them in that little passage there. And he attacks that space, the ball carrier. And what he does really nice here, he doesn't see this gap and try to run here, because that's just running into the number 12's hole. So he doesn't there. He straightens up and makes sure he's always going at the space here, allowing the number 12 to hit this space, the link to hit this space, and the winger to keep wide. And when he has the ball, he runs all the way in. A lot of people will pass here. Okay, it's very common, especially with juniors. They get, if they're coming over from rugby league or rugby union, they tend not to go all the way into the line, because when they play league, you get smashed, because it's obviously tackle. So getting them out of that habit of throwing the ball now is very important, because if he tries to throw the ball over to the link now, this player here can have enough time to react. But by running all the way in, it commits that link. See how he just shuffles in a tiny bit, and now the ball just sails over, and it's a nice sinker pass. We covered that in another video. But very important to run all the way, dig into that line, because the further you go into the line, the more the defenders have got to come in. Now you can see this player here seeing the ball in the air. She's gone out, but it's a sinker ball. It drops to the link, and she just doesn't quite react fast enough, but it's very close. We've got one more example of a Rooster. A couple more, actually. So there's that dump again. We're fading outwards. Dummy half's going to pop past, and this guy is pretty much running a hot line straight at the toucher. So let's play continue. There's a little pop pass. Now you can see this middle is very tight, and you saw in the last video that the middles are very tight as well. If you notice that the middles are very tight, you can give this ball, as this play here is going to do, it's a quick release. And the reason we do a quick release is you can see this player here's momentum and stride are still at almost full sprint moving this way. And the defender here, who will end up marking this player if he gets the ball, is flat-footed. So if he's tight and flat-footed, covering this space here, you can run at that space but release the ball quickly. Like that. And now if you look at the space between the defender and the attacker here, it's a foot race. And I guarantee he will get to that line before he gets to the player. So now these two have to make a decision. And they have to make a decision together, which is very difficult on the fly. Do you come in or do you stay out? So we've done, this player's come in at the latest possible moment he can, which is probably the best thing to do. The wingers sort of hesitated. Granted, yes, it was slippery, and they got the ball through the hands. But yeah, that's the quick release. Let's see if I can play it slow motion here. So we'll just let play go through here. Quick release. And that's something to if you have an early morning game or there's some slight rain and making it slippery as well, it's a good idea to do the quick release. So we'll look at another example. There's the dump. We've got the other side of the field here. So running at this player here, wrapping around. And you want to take, if he pulls corner, you take this space here. Activating this defender to come in all the way to you. And you want to make sure that you run in as far as you can. Unless you've pre-planned that this link's going to come flying in as well. And then you want to give the ball straight away. So let's see what happens here. There's the run around. And see how close he was to this defender before he left the pass. If he passes the ball back here, which is again what we speak about a lot of tackle football players do, this link here just goes, okay, I'll make the touch here. But because this guy is running around and it lets him get into that space, the defender actually has to come in and take, I don't know if he ends up there, but he has to make that decision to make the touch there, because you don't want to be letting anything through the middle. So he runs all the way in, and you see now he has to come in and fully commit. And he rips that ball straight to that link. And the winger does a nice job to read this. He's coming in quick, and this is where we have to do the tip-on pass, which is a very, very difficult pass. So there's not really much fault of the winger there, because a tip-on is very hard to defend. Okay, so let's move on to the chicken. Some people call it a rusher or an out ball. There's probably a little bit of variations with the chicken as far as where you are from. But this is, we'll just go through, just imagining this is an out ball, which is this. Now you'll notice that the setup itself is very similar. As we rewind. So much like a quick release rooster, this is to be used at the same time. If you can identify that the middles, or in this case, all three of them, are really tight, and they're really trying to protect, like if you've got someone that dives at the line, or ball plays really well into that space, they want to cover that threat. They don't want anything scoring, so particularly a dive, they don't want anything scoring there, and they don't want to be beaten short side. So when you call a chicken, you can call it whatever you want. It's just sort of universally known as a chicken, like the rooster. So you angle in, as per normal. But as that ball is placed on the ground, and you can see all the body movements here, they're facing in. But instead of now coming in like that, they will change their angle and go outwards, just to catch everything against the grain. So the same sort of effect as the difference between a short side and an open side quickie, which we covered in another video. Depending on the middles and how tight they are, you run a rooster, or if they're super tight, you run a chicken, which then catches them off guard like this. Now I know this looks like 2-on-2, but they do have an extra winger out there. So this is the player here who should be trying to get the ball carrier. But of course, he was covering the middles, which again is not the end of the world. That's what we want him to do. But because he was doing that, CQ here with the ball, they've adjusted and bounced out. Like so. So we'll come back to that clip and we'll talk about defense, on how to defend that. Here's another clip. There's the out ball or the chicken. Spectacular dive. This was covered in a game analysis too. So this is, you saw the first video they had to throw that pass, but I want you to have a look at his line. And this is what sells the chicken. He's coming in, he's coming in, he's coming in. Now this number 4 sees right now that he's coming in like this. So he knows, okay, that's a big gap. I need to cover that. So when he moves in, the first receiver then bounces out. And you can see now he's just been caught flat-footed and he's arced around already and started his run. So now it's a foot race. Can he get to the line before he makes the touch? And in this case, he can. Not sure if he would have made it without that dive. And our final example, again, the setup's the same. Middle fading for the link. He will sell the rooster line, running nice and tight, and at the last minute, as the ball's placed on the deck, he'll angle outwards. But in this case, a good thing about this play, right, these middles aren't super tight, and he's reacted straight away, but they've still gone on with the out ball. But what's this job of this defender? He pulls corner. Naturally, he will pull that way. So now this player is chasing this way across to cover that chicken, which leaves these middles now vulnerable to be stepped on the inside. So if you've got a nice left foot step, you can do this. There's no way this player will be able to step back with you. One, they don't know when the step's coming, and two, they are literally sprinting as hard as they can this way. And unless this player has ridiculously good reaction to turn when they've already started pulling corner, they're probably not going to get there in time. So that's a nice option if the middle does recover. So we'll talk about defending now. Now I recommend you watching my video on sniper defense, because that is really the way that you're going to have to defend this. Now as soon as you see that, if the link is getting good pre-touch, the link just flies up and makes the touch here. Now the link is probably a little bit too close. There might be a reason that they were that close. They might have done some video work on CQ and thought that they were going to run a certain play when they didn't. But the link is just going to come up and shoot that. It would have been very hard, the positions that those players were in now. But in theory, the link will be on the outside. So if the link's here, and the other middle say here, he comes in from the outside and just smashes that play. Basically from a blind side. Like I said, from these positions it would be very difficult to do that, but this is the only footage that sort of showed everyone to be able to do that, and that's the sniping defense. So if you want to see more on sniping defense, go and watch that video. It's a good video. A pretty advanced sort of defensive policy, that one. A lot of teams will try and run an out ball, but their passing might not be as crisp as what CQ can do. So you do have that little bit of time to sort of recover. But anyway, that's the rooster and the chicken. And actually what I will point out is a lot of people call the chicken and they trail. So we'll just use the last clip. Okay, so this middle has chased. This middle's pulled corner. Let's imagine that you've got someone that just pulls a corner and doesn't even look on their inside. This player here can trail the pass. So instead of him stepping back in, the guy with the ball just keeps running out and the dummy half goes into this space, and it's just a little inside ball. A lot of teams will use that play as their chicken. Now that's very popular in women's touch football. Those little inside plays, or they do a reverse quickie and it's an inside pass, which they call a ninja. But yeah, that's another option. So you could just run an out ball or a chicken with a trail and hopefully catch the toucher pulling corner and the other middle over competing and trying to chase down the ball carrier from scoring a try on the outside. But yeah, that's the rooster and the chicken. Let us know in the comments which one is your favorite, or if you use both like I try and do, depending on what the defense is doing. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again shortly.